spiral, and now putting up the Terra Magica and the magic glint blades are going to go up as well. And now finally the drink comes through, and a 216 little poke from a Swift Glintstone Shard will come through, but the slicers and the
Slicer just puts him away.
I was going to say that the comets and the magic.
Hey guys, let's talk about mages. Or more like one particular mage, as Bevan is technically the best mage in the West. Bevan played the full mage throughout the whole tournament, and he kind of paid the price for it, because he ultimately lost in the finals to dual Saint Trina swords, which essentially counters full mage. But he definitely showed the true power of what full mage is potentially capable of. So hey, let's review, in my opinion, the best moments of Bevan in that particular tournament. And the first round starts, Bevan versus Fluz. Overall, we can see the huge pressure that the mage build actually applies. As you can see, it is pretty much impossible to have priority over the mage build. Like, that's the whole point about overall, like, magic being capable of being spammed over and over in this game. It actually gives you huge priority, and even in situation when, for example, over here, as you can see, Bevan is not really dodging very well. There is like a clear issue with dodging on Bevan's side. It comes from the fact that when you're playing mage, you kind of have to focus firstly and foremost on the correct spellcasting. Yeah, you have to cycle your spells in the correct order and so on. It basically takes a lot of the attention. We can see here on the right side that Bevan, after he spaced out, he used the flask that essentially refilled part of his HP. Fluz had an idea to do the same because he kind of had to equalize the stats. He did the running attack. After that, he tried to go back a little bit, started using the healing pot, and despite that Bevan actually missed the slicer, you can essentially cancel slicer into the comet, which gave Bevan a free hit, which ultimately gives priority to Bevan again. He then came back to the ground buff, which gives him 30% of the additional damage, and utilized the running attack to hit an opponent with slicer. Let's take a look. And here you go. 516 damage because of the Terra buff. I mean, like, it's not like a slicer is much weaker, even without it, to be honest. The thingy has definitely way too much damage for the cast speed of it. It's like insanely powerful tool, but overall we can see great use and the understanding of the tools that Bevan actually has. So yeah, it was very, very, very good round. Amazing show of skill and understanding of the magical tools that Bevan is using. And yeah, let's go to another one. Crucify versus Bevan was an interesting match because of the excellent comebacks that Bevan actually did during that matchup. As you see over here, Crucify is running rather classical type of build. Just typical melee stuff. He has a shield that has decent magical defenses as well. Bevan is prepared for that too. Like, for now he's just getting like slapped over and over. But hey, he's a magical user. Like, one mistake and that's essentially your over. As you can see over here, Crucify tried to keep on applying the pressure, but spells are just faster. Here we had like very good use of Rivers of Blood by Crucify. It is very unfortunate for the guy, he didn't do more damage. But as the respawn, Bevan threw the pebble into the spiral, which is another insane combo because it essentially doesn't allow you as a player that approaches a mage to get the priority, because a spiral spell is essentially following you and deals multiple sequences of damage. You are kind of forced to keep your distance instead, which is exactly what Mage wants you to do. Then Bevan ran away And as you can see, he already started casting. From that distance, he's still going to reach Crucify. As you can see, he was actually faster than Rivers of Blood startup and got Crucify perfectly. And if that wouldn't be enough, he had already prepared the Comet on the quick cast as the follow-up. That one is pretty good because Bevan had a big comeback in this one. But what is the most important thing, I want to show you guys the insane priority of Carrion Slicer. For now, Bevan just eating the Moonveil because why not, man? Well, not really good trade. Now getting pressured with the offhand rapier, which is insanely good tool. The guys actually went both for physics, but Fuko took off the bubble. Bubble overall is not really that great of a tool in the casual PvP, but here on such a small arena that we have on the tournament, it is definitely worth to have it in the matchups against people that have ranged poke, because you simply might lose way too many HP points in case if you are not gonna be rocking that one. Bevan is using Bubble because he is not utilizing Flask from the very beginning of the match. So since he's actually using it somewhere in the middle or at the end of the match, or maybe just as a backup plan, it is simply better to have that Bubble for the sake of to have the save buff. Fuko, on the other hand, is utilizing it because he simply has no priority despite playing Moonveil, because, well, Bevan is simply a magic user. Bevan smartly using the daggers over here to take off the bubble. Absolute priority yet again on the magic over Moonveil, both because of the range and because of the speed. Here we have seen very decent play by Fuko. He actually utilized the Moonveil's forward move on the Ash of War for the sake of to dodge the oncoming projectile sent by Bevan, which was very, very smart. That being said, Bevan on like 50 HP now. Yep. Carrion Slicer. Let me show you how insane Carrion Slicer is when it comes to its frame data. Fuko is about to release the attack with the rapier, but sadly the weapon simply was too short. Bevan does the Carrion Slicer slice after the attack, lands it, and follows up with another one immediately. Because Carrion Slicer has essentially Dagger's moveset, it is very, very, very good move on the follow-ups. The frame data is very, very short. So the only option that Fuko had here is to essentially roll out, and not even like a normally on the reaction. He had to cue the roll, which in that particular case means that if Bevan would expect that, then he can follow up essentially with the Comet, which probably would kill Fuko if he wouldn't do the double rollout. But yeah, wasn't needed because 2 slicer slices were enough to finish the job. And here we have the final match, the first round of Bevan versus Fury. So here Bevan essentially is not prepared for what is actually coming. Fury has dual straight swords, the Trina swords, and look how much pressure it actually applies. You can see that Bevan basically stood essentially no chance. He didn't have talisman that would give him the sleep status effect protection, so the build-up was absolutely insane on Fury's side. And overall, I'm not gonna show you guys the whole finals because it is essentially the same. The only difference is that Bevan equipped set that essentially was giving him a little bit more of sleep defenses, but that's about it. What sleep swords do, they are actually allowing the dual sword wielder for the sake of to somewhat trade with the caster user despite them using the slicer, and you can pretty much manage to still out trade them because at some point you're just gonna put them to sleep. Usually trades last long enough for the sake so you can do that. We can also see that Fury is utilizing the Physic Flask from the very beginning of the match. He is using Bubble as well for the sake to just deal with potential early poke that Bevan might do, and well, overall good setup against mages. Technically, the way how we can deal with that is to have the melee backup weapon, but that being said, if you are facing a mage, dual Trina Sword is definitely a good answer to the matchup. Anyway, that's all for now. Thank you a lot for watching, and I see you in the next one. Bye!